Hey, what is up, everyone? Happy Saturday. Today, we're going to be talking about web hacking with the one and only Tiberius. So, Tibbs, thank you for so much for hanging out this morning. And if those folks that don't know you and what you've been up to, go ahead and give a little bio about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Tiberius. I've been a web app hacker for, God, it's like almost 15 years now. I'm
Nice.
old. I'm old, man. Uh, um, yeah, and known for various things like Auto Recon, some privilege escalation courses I did for OCP,
Mhm.
running game shows at DEF CON now,
Yeah.
um, and I used to stream a lot. Now I don't so much, but I still do YouTube videos and annoy people on social media. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much me.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Yeah. And I always see that. And that's always fun stuff. So, like, what made you get into, in today's topic, right, web app, because people like
Hmm.
get into all these different areas, but like you're known for your web app talent. So, like, what triggered that interest in web app? Because web app is probably my weakest. I have to learn it, but it's not something I pivot to. So why did you choose web app?
Because it's the best. That's why. No, like I don't know. It's back when I entered the industry, it was like you basically just did everything as a junior,
Hmm.
which I think is still pretty valid.
Hmm.
Um, that's probably how it should happen. Like just try all the hacking and see what you like. But I'm also a big uh, believer that people should specialize in stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I really don't. There seems to be a trend these days where companies like want the experts to be experts in everything, and I just think that's like too much to ask for pen testing.
Hmm.
Like there are certainly some people who can do all the pen testing, but I feel like if you focus on one or two specific areas, you're probably just going to be a better tester overall for that. So
Fair enough.
I chose web apps mostly because I used to do a lot of web development.
Hmm.
So the server side programming, not the design. Web
Hmm.
design, no idea. Uh, all my applications just use Bootstrap and they look all the same. It's like that's just it. Um, but yeah, like the actual like server side code, that's what I liked writing. So I
Nice.
kind of already when I entered the industry knew how web apps worked and that kind of thing, which is obviously helpful when you're
Yep.
trying to hack them.
Exactly.
So yeah. So it's a little bit easier from that perspective anyway.
Cool. And I think that's super important, right? Because like for myself, right, and then we'll get into what, and we'll share your screen and do all the fun jazz.
Mhm.
And like for myself, like I come from a network and system engineering background, right? So I gravitate towards like the Active Directory and the networking stuff, and because it all makes sense, right?
Mm.
So I think that's a really valid point because mastering every single thing, and like some of these companies like, oh, you need to have your mastery in XYZ element or P, and it's like, it's a little much to ask for. But yeah, so I'll share, and then you take it over and
Yeah.
explain what you're going to be doing, what we're going to be doing today. And for the Q&A, like the last maybe 15 minutes of the stream, we'll answer some questions. I don't want to interrupt Tiberius while he's doing his thing and losing his mojo.
Oh, you can interrupt. I don't
Cool.
even know what we're going to be doing. I haven't planned this. I figured that we'd open it up for the audience
Yeah. All right.
to
Cool.
decide.
And if those folks, we're going to be doing what, PortSwigger,
Yeah, I
something
figured
within
PortSwigger is pretty good.
PortSwigger. So PortSwigger is always something to go to. Oh, hey Rick, and thank you, I appreciate you. Um, and PortSwigger is awesome to learn web apps. So and it's all free. The only thing you have to pay
Hmm.
for is pretty much like the Burp Suite cert. Is that correct?
So some of the labs, they I wouldn't say they're only solvable using Burp Suite Pro, but Burp Suite Pro will definitely help.
Mm,
But for like 99% of the labs, you use Burp Suite Pro. You don't need it. But yeah, the cert is optional. The labs are kind of a training for the cert. But the cert itself is like $100, I think, unless they've increased the price. So honestly, like, yeah, it's not too much. And you also have the learning materials for free as well.
Hmm. So it's definitely something good to if you're trying to get into web
Yeah,
hacking and all that good stuff. So that's dope.
should
That's dope. I
probably.
do have Burp Suite Pro for those folks that I do have a pro version. So maybe I want to probably start documenting some of my web hacking journey. It's just
Yeah,
it's just
this
something
is
I
this
don't really
is
do. So that is PortSwigger. So yeah,
yeah.
if anyone would, if anyone knows about PortSwigger and they have a recommendation for Tibs, please throw it in the chat. We'll love to take your word as per se as for what he was asked, what he said. And if not, like we'll find something and we'll just go to town.
Yeah, if you have any, there's just so much.
Yeah,
There are labs that make no sense to do on the stream as well, so I'm gonna veto some people
yeah,
because they're just really annoying. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff here. It's really cool.
awesome. So let's see if there's any.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's see. Hey guys, how are you? Everything's good. Thank you. Hello. Hey guys. I'm very intimidated by web hack pen testing. I've decided to do ADCTFs on Hack the Box and advice for anyone that has no web dev knowledge or background whatsoever to really get into web hacking. That's a tips question. I'm not a web hacker,
Oh,
so
what's the question?
pretty much he's intimidated by web hacking. He decided to go into ADCTFs. I
Hmm.
think that's what he meant on Hack the Box. Um, so pretty much, he has no background in it. So what's
Yeah.
a good way to get into web hacking?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Web Security Academy is pretty good. So they have the learning paths. So basically, you can choose a particular vulnerability set, and it'll sort of teach you about that. Um, you might want to start off with something like SQL injection, just because it's such a. I feel like SQL injection is quite an easy to understand vulnerability when you get to like the bare bones of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would honestly use this. There are also like read up on how web apps work. These days, you can freaking if you have access to an LLM, you can
Yeah.
like literally ask it to code a quick web app in Python for you. Um, and then if you read that code, you can kind of maybe understand what it's doing and how it works. But yeah, that's how I would do it. Get Burp Suite. You don't need Burp Suite Pro. You can just use Burp Suite Community proxy requests. Have a look at how that's handled. Like, so if we go to, like if I just go to example.com, oops, I can type, and then go to the Burp Suite history here. So like, this is pretty much all the web is a request and response, and just a lot of them in different ways. It's slightly more complicated with WebSockets now, but yeah, like most of this is just your browser sends a certain number of requests. They each get a response. The browser does stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like honestly, it's slightly disingenuous explanation, but it kind of works. There's nothing really special to it. It's still, even though it's not a text-based protocol anymore with HTTP2, you still read everything as text. So
Mm. And
yeah, pretty much.
I think people actually navigate away from this just because of the code aspect, in my opinion. Like, it's like, oh, this thing can be a little daunting because it's like, what am I looking at? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's, and there's so many things within Burp, even though it's just a, proxy and you're looking at the history and you're seeing a request and response, etc. I think that's what, at least that's what my thing was. It's like when I learned from system engineering to Cisco, right? It's like, oh shit, now I need to work a command line. Where's
Mm.
the GUI, right? So it's just all about getting comfortable on that new new area of whatever you're learning. So it's just about learning. So dive in, because I remember when I was learning this, and I'm like, I navigated away from it for many years, right? And I was like, you know what, I think I need to learn this thing now. And about 5 years ago, or whatever it was, I don't know, maybe a little longer, I'm like, okay, let me start understanding this a little more. Maybe I might not become on a Tib's level or whomever else's level, but at least I know and understand. So if I do a basic web app test, I'm not completely lost. And like you said, you can code something with ChatGPT or any element or whatever, um, any large language model, LLM. It's a tongue twister. And so, and you can code something super, super quick. So I think that's definitely leverage the tools that we have out there. So, you know, it's so easy to learn today, man. Like you said, you started 15 years ago. Same thing with me. I started about IT 21 years ago now, and it wasn't as easily accessible as today. I'm old too. That shows I'm old too. So awesome. So, Tiz, please, your thoughts on Kaido as a Burp Suite replacement.
I mean, it's coming along, but like the problem Kaido's always going to have is just the amount of stuff that's in Burp. Like I feel like Kaido's free version is fine, but I just don't see like the paid version is what, like $200 a year now, or something like that, which is like just under half the price of Burp Suite Pro. But like I feel like every time I use like Kaido or like check it out and compare it to my workflow in Burp, it's like I'm missing like 90% of the features. So
good to know.
And it's like it's not like those features can be easily replaced by extensions either, because I know Kaido has extensions now, but like Burp also has extensions, and so and a bigger, I feel, extension creating community, especially now with freaking vibe coding extensions, which I've been doing. So yeah, there's so much stuff in Burp that you just don't get in Kaido.
Nice. And it's been around longer, right? So it's going to be more seasoned.
Yeah, it's like over 20 years old now, I think.
Yeah. So and Kaido's what? Barely a year old, a year and some change?
No, Kaido's been around for like 3 or 4 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
But I think the problem Kaido has also is it's like a 3-person project, I believe. Like I don't think there are that many developers. And so yeah, you have the issue of like I mean I've been to PortSwigger's offices. They've got like I feel like 150 employees.
Sick.
Possibly more. So and obviously not all of them work on Burp Suite. But you've got that business and you do have quite a large development team. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, I guess we can just pick something out of a hat on PortSwigger and just go for it, and then
Sure.
pick whatever you want, whatever you think is cool for today.
Plenty of stuff is cool.
If you want to do a few, you want to start out with something easy like a SQL injection, and then
sure, why not? We'll do that, and then we'll figure out. So we can use my cheat sheet.
Exactly.
All right. Shall we do blind SQL injection with conditional errors? That's always fun. That's like slightly tricky, but still doable. Okay, access the lab. So, it's going to tell us just to save time where the vulnerability is, which is in a tracking cookie used for analytics. Results to the SQL query are not returned. The application does not respond any differently based on whether the query returns any rows. But if the SQL query causes an error, the application returns a custom error message. All right, so what we can do here is we can copy this domain into the target scope tab of Burp. I usually click advanced scope control, paste that in there. Lovely. And then if I go back to here, And then paste that in. It was a cookie, so I'm presuming the cookie's been loaded again. So I'm just going to refresh so we get a request in Burp with the cookie. So I have everything backwards. This is just how I work.
Yeah.
This is how my brain works. I just a lot of people like this is not the default view. The default view is like, oh, the latest requests are down here, and I'm like, no, I want them at the top, please. So apologies for not following along, but this was the first request. As you can see, it didn't have any cookie information. If I actually turn off, this is a really good thing to use. By the way, this icon here removes basically all the headers that nobody actually cares about. Your browser just adds a ton of headers that you don't actually need to see. So these are all the headers you want. But yeah, so there's no cookie, but the tracking ID and session cookie have now been set. So the next request we send is going to have them here. And if we go to repeater, so in repeater, I'm going to do this. If we send this request again, basically this is just loading the index page. If we click render, we can actually see the page. Now it said, like, if we just put a single quote, obviously a pretty standard test for SQL injection, we get a 500 internal server error, but we get a pretty generic error message. And so if I load up my where are we? Tiberius cheat sheet. So if we load up this cheat sheet, we've got this break and repair method. So this is like a break and repair method that I recommend. Basically, sorry. Yeah. So the idea here is I always try and keep things as simple as possible with any kind of exploit. So a lot of people will just like spam payloads, which I don't agree with. In this case, what we're trying to do is just identify whether this is even an SQL injection. And so what we're going to assume here is that the single quote broke the query. Right. Which is, makes sense. A query, usually if you put a single quote in here, it's going to basically just break it. And so the idea is, how can we sort of repair this query now? Maybe I should bring up a... Hang on. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to zoom in for everyone. But let's assume that we have this query here. So it has a tracking ID. So it might be select all from, I don't know, sessions where tracking ID equals that. Let's just copy this tracking ID. This one. So that's our query. Which runs on the database. And then if we put a single quote here, which is just what we've done there, right? You can kind of see that the query is now basically broken because we have this all single quotes, right? All quotes around string should have a matching end thing. So this one technically now matches with the one we injected. And so you have this, right? Just dangling there. And so the question is, okay, can we, assuming this is an SQL injection, and we can put stuff right here, okay, like there, can we break this query like this and then repair it? And the answers, maybe somewhat unsurprisingly, is yes. And there are various ways we can do this. And what we need to do is repair it by adding things. So, because obviously what we could do is just take out the single quote. That's technically repairing it. What we want to do is keep the single quote there and see if we can repair it. And one of the things that you can do, if you assume that there's this just dangling single quote here, is you can be like, okay, well, I want this value to be preserved. So, and we have like the start or the end of a string.
Mm-hmm.
So can we just concatenate this value with an empty string? Turns out, yes, we can. So in MySQL, how you would do that is you would basically put a space and then a single quote. So this weird thing in MySQL is actually a shorthand for a concatenation. So if you put a space between two strings in MySQL, it will concatenate them together. And if you think about this, right, we're concatenating this value with an empty string. So it's literally just going to be the same as this value.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, in MS SQL, if you put a plus, it will concatenate those two values. And in Postgres, Oracle, SQLite, if you put two bar symbols or pipe symbols,
Pipes, yeah.
Then it will concatenate.
Nice.
And so realistically, if we know that a single quote breaks, then we have immediately three repairs that we can test. And the first one is a single quote space single quote. And the second one is a single quote plus single quote. And the third is a single quote.
Pipe.
And then pipe single quote.
Mm-hmm.
And we can just try that and see what happens. So we know that we have a single quote resulting in internal server error. So if we just do a space single quote, we still get a internal server error. If we put a plus here, internal server error. But if we put two bar symbols or pipe symbols, we get back to our original 200 OK.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only do we now know this is highly likely to be some kind of SQL injection, because this makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
On its own. Like, there's no reason this should be a 200 OK. But now we know also this is it's very highly likely to be like Postgres, Oracle, or SQLite. So we've also done a little bit of digging. And you can actually expand this a bit because you can just move this, right? There's no reason it has to go at the end. You could literally put it here. It's doing the exact same thing. It's concatenating this half of the string with this half of the string. But it's going to return the exact same value. And so if we send that, we get a 200 OK. So that's like another way you can sort of semi-confirm it. But the main issue we have here is that we can't really do any Boolean logic because we have it's just giving this random internal server error.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so even if we were to do like an and 1 = 1 or something, right? Injection. It's just going to give so an and 1 = 1 is going to give this the regular page. If we change this to and 1 = 2, it still gives us the regular page. Nothing actually changes between these requests, right? And so, but we do know we can trigger an error, right? And so the trick here is, okay, can we generate a conditional error? We want to make it so that we can cause this error message, but only when something we want to know is true.
Fair enough.
Right now, we can generate it when we're breaking the query itself, but we actually want to control this completely. And so the first thing we want to do, though, is figure out exactly what database variant we're dealing with. And we can go back to the SQL injection cheat sheet that I have. Maybe I should put that in the chat. Let me paste it. There we go. And so I have this. This is obviously not complete because there are surprisingly more than just 5 databases. But these are the 5 most common ones. Now, we've already excluded MySQL and MS SQL because this trick didn't work and the plus trick didn't work. But what we can try is use sort of see if Postgres works, right? And so what we can do here, we know that if we do something like this, right? So this should still be valid SQL in Postgres, right? But the 2-hex function, if it doesn't exist, like in Oracle and SQLite, it's going to cause an error message. So this is a 500 internal server error, which means this is probably not Postgres. Okay. And so we can try this one, length B. Okay. So it's 200 OK, which means it's going to be Oracle. All right. So the length B function only really works in Oracle.
Okay.
And so because we got that 200 response instead of a 500 internal server error, we know it's Oracle. And so now what we can do, we can use the key. Table of contents, we can go down to Boolean error, inferential. So these are payloads which cause an error in the SQL if the 1 = 1 conditional is true. And so we replace the 1 = 1 with a condition that we want to test. So if an error propagates back to the response, the condition is true. So we have this Oracle one. We can literally just copy this entire thing. And put it here. What we should also do is check if we can just do something like comment out, which we can. Excellent. Okay. So we don't have to mess with anything bad. All right. So what we have here is let's comment out. Basically, we're injecting this and conditional, right? Where we say 1 equals and then this massive thing.
Mm-hmm.
But all this does is if 1 = 1, then this whole like thing in parentheses returns infinity, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 divided by 0.
Yep.
But if 1 isn't equal to 1, it will return 1.
Fair enough.
And because we have this 1 equals, right? So if 1 doesn't equal 1, then we get a 1 = 1. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of complicated, but you'll see what I mean. So, but because we have 1 = 1 set and we know 1 = 1, then this toChar function should execute with a 1 divided by 0, which should cause an error on the server. And hopefully, yeah, there we go. We get a 500 internal server error. But if I change this to 1 = 2, right? Well, now 1 doesn't equal 2, so this code isn't going to run, but this is, right? So it's going to return this 1, and because we have a 1 = 1, now this should return 200. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is how we now have a way of testing a condition, right? If this, whatever, we can put anything in these parentheses here. All right, we doesn't have to be 1 = something. We can just literally put any kind of test in here, and if we get a 500 internal server error, we know that whatever we put there is true.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the lab asked us to. The database contains a table users with columns, username, and password need to exploit the vulnerability to find out the password of the administrator user. So we know a few things. We know there's a users table. We know the username and password fields. We know there's an administrator user. So we need to find out the password. So ordinarily, obviously, you wouldn't have this information. You might be able to guess it. You can technically figure out the user table, the column names using this exploit. This is just to speed it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what we want to do here is do something like select. Let me see, password from users where username equals administrator. All right. But let's select the count. So this should only be 1, right? We're going to try and keep it basic. So we're going to select count, and we want to put this in parentheses and do = 1. So basically we're saying, okay, select the number of rows, right, the count, where the username is equal to administrator.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's equal to 1, then we should get this triggered, this divide by 0, which should respond with an error. Hooray! And if I said it's like 2, right, should go back to a 200. Okay. So we know this is working. All right. And now we can check the length of the password, right? So we can change that count to length. And we can say, okay, well, firstly, is it equal to 0? We know it's not equal to 0, right? So 200, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is it greater than 0? internal server error. Yes. So now what you can do is you can sort of use a binary tree approach. So we can choose some ridiculous value, right? Let's choose 100. Okay. So we know that the password right now is like the length of the password is greater than 0.
Yeah.
Okay. So a 200, remember, is our bad response. So this means the password is not greater than 100, which kind of makes sense. So now what we just do is just divide by 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, anytime we're trying to sort of just restrict the range of our test. So if we do this, okay, so 200 okay means the password is not larger than 50 characters. So now we just divide by 2
25.
again and do 5. Yep. Okay. So now, well, 25 divided by 2 is what, like 13,
17,
12?
12.5.
Yeah, 12.5. We'll do that. We'll do 12. Okay. So now we get 500 internal server error, which means it's greater than 12. So now we know it's between 12 and 25. So we can choose a midpoint, like 18 or say. It's okay, so that means it's greater than 18. We can choose a midpoint 22. Okay, so now it's between 18 and 22. Do 20. So it's between 18 and 20. Let's do 19. Okay, so we know it's greater than 19, but it's not greater than 20. Which, if you've done any math, you should realize that just means it must equal 20, right?
Yeah.
And so we get a 500 internal error if it equals 20. So now we know exactly how long the password is.
Mm-hmm.
And we can use the substring function, which I believe is substring in Oracle. We can find out substrings. This is why my cheat sheet's good.
Yeah.
Oracle, yes, has a substra function. So a lot of them will have substring, but substra in Oracle apparently. So we want password 1 1, I believe, right? So the start value and the length. So basically, we want to start from the first character, because these SQL doesn't use 0 for some stupid reason, and then we go for a length. So we're always going to have a length of 1 because we just want to iterate over the characters, right? And so we can go substring password, first character or first index, and then length 1 is equal to, and we can try something like A, and we get a 200, and we can do B or whatever. And this is kind of slow, so what we can do instead, it would be nice if we could just convert this character to a number and compare it to a number using greater than, less than. And so we can actually do that because there are a bunch of functions, obviously, because all data is technically numbers. And so we can do convert characters to integers for comparisons. And in Oracle, we have this raw to hex. And even though this is a hex value, so it's not technically 61, right? It's 61 because this is hex code. But we can just use this raw to hex function. And if we put it around this substring, so remember, this substring is only returning 1 character at a time. So we put this around this substring function, which means it's going to return whatever hex value that character is. And then what we can do is we can just do something like raw to hex equals A, right? We get a 200, which means at least the code didn't fail, but it means it's not equal to A. And effectively, if we look at an ASCII table, let's find an ASCII table. So we suspect the password's probably going to be in the range from 48 to 122, right? In the ASCII range. So we can choose a decent midpoint, which I've always found to be an O. Okay, so we know O, 79. Right? Yeah. But we can just put an O in here. Capital O, that is. And we can say, okay, is it greater than an O? And we get a 500 internal server, which means it is, right? So we know now that we've basically just eliminated all of these characters. And so we know it's between O and a lowercase z. So we can now choose another midpoint, which I'm going to just guess is like an F. And so we can just change this for an F. We can say, okay, well, is it greater than a lowercase f? It is. All right. And so we just repeat this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know now we're in the range from F to Z, so we can choose P or something. Okay, it's still greater than a P, so what's that going to be? Like a U? Okay, and finally, we get a 200 OK, which means it's not greater than a U, so it's between P and U. All right. And so between P and U, well, we don't have many characters. Let's go for R. Okay, so it's not greater than R, so let's just go to Q. 500 internal server error. All right, so it's greater than a Q, but it's not greater than an R, which I think means it must be an R, right? Yep. Okay. So we've just extracted the first character of the password.
Yeah.
Just by using a binary tree. And this is actually how SQL map, if you've ever run SQL map, this is how this works effectively. It does pretty much the same thing using a binary tree approach. That's actually kind of hard to automate in Burp, so I tend to just, we've seen how it works. I just tend to cheat now and send this to Intruder. And what we're going to do is we're going to change. So Intruder is like a fuzzing tool, right? So you can basically iterate over various payload sets and it will just send requests. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark this one, which is the index value. And we're basically going to iterate over 1 to 20 in this place. And we're also just going to change the character each time as well. And so what I want to do is go to a cluster bomb attack. So all possible combinations of this and this. So for the first payload, we just want to do a number iterator from 1 to 20. All right, because we know there are 20 characters. And then for the second payload, we are going to use a simple list. We're going to add A to Z, uppercase and lowercase, and the numbers. I'm just going to assume that it's uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. And what we can then do is go to start attack. That's going to spawn over there for some reason. And we're only interested in 500s because we don't care about 200s. 200s mean that our guess was invalid. But you can see what it's doing, right? So this is the request that guesses whether the 5th character in the password is equal to an A. And this is the guess where if the 11th character is equal to an A, right? We scroll down, we might get the 11th character equal to a D. But we don't care about 200s. We just care about 500 internal server errors. And so if we look at these, the attack finishes, we should get a total of 20 of them. And we can order them by the payload, the first payload, right? Which is the ID. And this is the password now.
Yeah.
So we can see that we knew that the first character was an R. Well, this is just confirmed it's an R. So we have R8NQRFV2DBXB J7TH85SR. So I'm just going to move that to the side and type that in. So hopefully this should now solve the lab. If we go back here, administrator, what was it? So we've got R8NQRFV2DBXBJ7TH85SR. Hopefully. There we go. And we logged in. So, kind of, I feel like SQL injection is slightly easier to understand, but you can get kind of complicated.
Yeah.
But that's this is like a real world. I've used this kind of attack in the real world. Like, this is not
just very CTF
unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not unrealistic. Obviously, this is a lab, so they give you information, but there's no reason why we couldn't have modified this query here to find, we used it to find the password because we knew that there was a users table and a username field and a password field and an administrator user. But all of this information you can extract using this technique. So if we didn't know anything about the database, you could change this query to enumerate the tables, right? And then once you found that there's a users table, you'd be like, oh, well, the users table is automatically interesting. You can use this query to enumerate the fields of that table.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use the query to enumerate the usernames, right? So even though they gave us this, we could have technically, if they hadn't given us any of this information, we could have enumerated all of this information ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is why this technique is really, really cool to use. But yeah.
Yeah.
That is that.
No, I think that was super cool. Like I learned a few things because, I knew a few, I knew probably 80%, maybe 75% to be 100% transparent. And 25% was like, oh shit, like that was pretty cool,
Yeah.
And so I guess someone asked, where did you put the link? I guess you were sharing your link somewhere.
I put it in the chat, didn't I?
Mm.
Isn't it right above?
I'm not sure.
I don't see it in the chat.
I don't see the. I don't see it in the chat either. If you want to throw it in the private chat here, and I can throw it in there if you want.
Sure. Where is it? Where is the private chat? Up here. Oh no, it's not the private chat.
Yeah, nothing. No, give me 1 sec.
Is that good?
One sec. Let me copy this for you folks. All right, there it is. So awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, so that was definitely cool stuff. So obviously you guys can see, and if you guys get stuck, and I just want to elaborate on this too. If you go back to the challenge tips, you can see the solution if you get stuck, right?
Yeah.
Like solution right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys do get stuck, you can, this can help you guide you through that. And obviously, if you're looking at this one, you can use this video as a walkthrough pretty much. And I guess there's a walkthrough of it as well. So
yeah, they have community solutions. So
sweet. That is awesome. So let me see. Yeah, I guess now for the next 15 minutes or so, so perfect on timing. If you guys have any like questions for myself or Tibbs or whatever, let me see. I guess Nothing No had a question. I'm a recent graduate from India with 5 to 6 years experience in cybersecurity. For the past 4 years, I've been actively involved in bug bounty hunters where I'm gained credible practice, or considerable practice. I currently hold CEH and OSWE certification, and I'm planning to take OSCP Plus exam within the next 2 or 3 months. My main concern is that I do not have the formal corporate work experience. My expertise pretty much comes from bug bounties, given my strong skills and knowledge. I would like to know if it's realistic for me to secure a red team position with completing the OSCP Plus be enough to secure a job in the field. I would appreciate your guidance, blah, blah, blah. If I say I couldn't send this to whole, yeah. So I'll give my take, and then we'll tag team on this. Since we both, since we're done with that, we'll just come back to us. Since we both have the experience, and I don't have OSCP, so Tibbs has that, and he has some courses to help you do some stuff. But if you have OSWE and CEH, to be honest, if you have that, I wouldn't even go for OSCP. That's just, I don't know, that's just me. I could be totally off. Me personally, if you're looking to get into red team, since you read that, I would do like the CRTO route and like CPTS and get more into that area instead of doing like OSCP Plus, because that's just going to give you another CTF driven with maybe some ADs computers. And, that's how the new one is. It has like an AD stack. So if you would want my recommendation to get more leverage in the game, obviously kudos, you're doing bug bounties, you're getting your feet wet in that. And I would do like CRTO, which is Certified Red Team Operator, and then maybe a hack the box CPTS to get more of that well-rounded like AD and the whole shebang. CPTS is really good. It'll give you more leverage than the OSCP. And you already have that OffSec certification under your belt for quote unquote HR. But that's my take Tibbs, tag, you're it. What would you say?
I mean, I think the question was like, will it like guarantee you a job, right? Or something about that. Like, will it? And I would preface this by like, no cert guarantees anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's how I would say. And honestly, like the certs in this industry, I don't know. It's a mess right now.
Yep.
So I would just be cautious. I think OCP is generally it's an okay cert for like getting past HR filters.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like almost everyone in the industry knows now that it's just not that good of an exam. It doesn't prepare you for actual pen testing.
Mm-hmm.
It still kind of doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's got an Active Directory part. Like the report writing section is just insane. And the fact you only have 24 hours to do the exam, and the fact you can't use like Metasploit,
Yeah.
which I've used in
Yeah,
the real world
I used
so
it
many
yesterday.
times. So it's like I don't know.
But
It's
Thursday,
just
whatever.
bad, and I feel like there are a bunch of the problem is it's so ingrained in the HR process. I mean I really want it to not be, but I don't know. We need an industry to sort of just put our foot down and be like, okay, yeah, we're not using OCP anymore.
Yeah.
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 But I mean OSWE, that's the web app one, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. I haven't got that one because it's a lot of people don't understand. It's more of a code review exam. I've always found that a bit odd for OffSec, just because I personally have found that most people don't want to share their code.
Yeah.
Even with companies that they're hiring to do like code reviews
Yep.
and audits, like security testing. So it's like, all right, well, most people are happy just to have a regular pen test where you don't know any of the code.
Exactly.
So that's not to say the OSWE isn't a good course for learning web exploits. It definitely is. The main issue is like, well, it just won't it won't teach you like the stuff you'll need if you're going to do like 90% of web app testing, which is going to be like the going in completely blind, not understanding anything about how the application functions or even what the code looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a good segue into the next question here, right? Can you highlight your methodology for real web app pen testing? I'm trying to break into the industry. I'm learning via hack the box machines. Would love tips to apply this directly to practice.
Yeah. So
This up here. So
I think the problem is my methodology is so based on intuition that it's not just it's not something I can really share. I can give a general approach, which I recommend, especially if you're starting out. The core thing is you can't just go in guns blazing to any kind of application. You have like the first day of, or maybe half day of any web app pen test really just has to be you using the application as an end user, like clicking around, exploring it, like seeing what features there are, using the features. If there's a profile page, like upload your is this avatar upload an image, right? You don't have to check on what it does. You don't have to check on where it goes. Just upload the image and just use the functionality, and then you can come back and review the requests that went through. And Burp Suite's really good now with its Bambda filters, that you can really like hone down on requests now, and you can actually have a pretty good view of just what you want to see, the requests that were specific to a certain like time that you were exploring the application. And that's when you should start reviewing the requests and looking for odd things. And there are extensions as well that will flag like weird looking parameters. Like the hunt extension is pretty good for that. But like honestly, that's where I would start, is just exploring the application. And then you can start doing things like, okay, well, this parameter is like, if there's like a file equals parameter that like literally has a file name there, well, that's, there's stuff that just like dances naked in front of you, right? And it's like, look at me, I'm a vulnerability.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are certain things that stand out. But the problem I find with a lot of methodologies is methodologies, you should never follow them to the letter. Like I read the OWASP web application testing methodology once. Like the first 20 or so pages of it are all just OSINT based and like using Google Docking, and it's so much content. Like I could legitimately spend an entire day doing that. And
Yeah.
it's like, but then you've wasted an entire day.
Yeah.
So like, and like for a lot of things like Google Docking, yeah, sure, it might be useful, but in context, like it's
Hmm.
not something I would like do right out the gate. So I feel like a lot of methodology gets too, it just does too much.
Fair enough.
Like you have to, you got to remember, like or maybe it's that methodologies assume that people just have infinite amount of time to test these things. Like you've got realistically 5 days, maybe if you're lucky, you've got 10 days, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to just use the methodology as a sort of, okay, well, like just lightly touched methodology. Use some of the tricks. You don't need to use all of the tricks in the methodology. Mostly web app testing is exploring the application, looking for weird parameters or functionality you think, hey, I could probably abuse this, and just trying something.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. That's definitely good stuff. So, also tell us about the Auto Recon. Thank you, big fan. What inspired you to build the tool, and would love to hear the story behind it.
Oh god. Auto Recon. It's such an ancient tool now for me. But so I took my OCP quite late. Because I entered the industry as a pen tester when you could literally just trip and fall into the industry. So like I became a junior pen tester with like no certs, with no real experience. Like a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, you should like be a sysadmin or work help desk before you become like a pen tester or go into cybersecurity. Yeah, none of that happened for me.
Yeah.
So like my first offensive security job in the industry was junior pen tester. Not recommended. So I ended up not doing many certs early in my career just because I didn't need them. And then I reached like 2017, I think it was. And like my boss was like, we've got some training budget left over. Do you want to do any certs? And I'm like, well, I haven't got the OCP yet. Might as well do that.
Hmm.
And so did the OCP, or was doing the labs, and the like coming from like, oh, I've been a pen tester for at that point 5 years.
Hmm.
Like the labs were just like, this is not pen testing. This is just weird. And so I was looking for like ways to just do the enumeration aspect in like a CTFE way, like the OCP was. And there were like a few tools for doing like automatic enumeration.
Hmm.
Off the top of my head, I think it was Recon Scan, Reconnoitre, I think it was like a French name, and Bscan.
Yeah.
And I used them all, but I never liked one of them like more than the others. It was like I like the way that Bscan does things, and I like the way that Recon Scan does this, and I like the way that Reconnoitre did this.
Hmm.
And so I was like, well, I could just probably make a tool that did all three. And so that's what I did. I like developed a tool literally just to help me in like the exam and then the labs. And I was like, I'll call it Auto Recon because I'm completely unimaginative.
Yeah.
And I like released it on a Discord server. I was like, well, I've made this. People can use it, report bugs, and
Yeah.
people started using it, and they liked it, and they liked how it basically did everything that the other three main tools are doing, just slightly better and in slightly easier to understand way. And then, like, the problem was when I first wrote it, it was just it was awful. It was terrible code because I wasn't expecting it to be anything. Like I was just
Mhm.
expecting like me and my friends to use it.
Yeah.
So the code. It's like terrible. And so then like a few years later, I was like, because so many people were using it, I had like secondhand embarrassment about my own code. And so I was like, well, I have to rewrite it now. Then I have to make it
Yeah.
better. So I spent like I spent my evenings for like 3 months rewriting the damn thing, to be better, and it fixed all these bugs that were like technically bugs because of the way it worked. And yeah, I fleshed it out. I made a plugin system so that people could like write their own plugins that could like drop in, and then
Mhm.
like nobody really did. Like there's a few user submitted plugins, but hey, I'm proud of the code now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Auto Recon 2 is probably the last version of the Auto Recon, because I'm honestly like, if there was going to be an Auto Recon 3, I'd just vibe code the entire damn thing at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. That's awesome. So here's another question. Your thoughts on Hack the Box Academy web search and TCM web search? What would be a good choice for someone that can only afford one? Uh,
Yeah. That's tricky because I know both of them and I know
yeah.
they're both good. I feel like honestly, it's a toss up.
Yeah.
Like the thing I can say that I know for sure. I don't. Okay, here's what I'll say, because I used to work for TCM and I like TCM. I think they're a good company.
Hmm.
And so I don't want to play favorites, but here's what I will say. I don't know which of the Hack the Box or TCM certs is better. I can honestly say that.
Hmm.
What I do know is that you will learn stuff from both of them.
Hmm.
So
Fair.
like that, like I feel like that's probably a fair assessment. Like
Yep.
that, you don't need to get the best cert if you learn stuff, right?
Exactly.
So I would go with whatever platform you are more comfortable with. If you have done any learning on Hack the Box and you like the way that teaches, then go with Hack the Box. If you've done any other TCM courses and you like the way that TCM teaches stuff, go with TCM.
Exactly. And I love that idea because I would get the same question about PMPT versus CPTS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I took them both and I went through the trainings. And, me personally, I'm more of a visual learner, right? Like Tibbs does his walkthrough and I can pause it and I can follow along and then things click. Then reading a boatload of text and then
Yeah.
remembering everything that I just read, which me personally, my brain, like you go down up in your burp, my brain just doesn't click. Like I
Yeah.
have to do it my way, right? So, if you're, but yeah, like TCM actually has videos along with his training for the PMPT, whereas CPTS didn't. But there's pros and cons for both of them, right? And I think what's really good about TCM's PMPT is that you get the soup to nuts experience that you wouldn't get from Hack the Box. For an example, you have a 5-day, you have external, getting into a network, doing your AD, writing report, and now you have to debrief this, right?
Mm.
Which I think that aspect is a big differentiator, right? Because everyone else is, you just submit it to a portal, someone reviews it, yay or nay, right? So when you're a real pen tester, you have to talk to a client. You have to have that soft skill. So even though it's only about 5-10 minutes of debriefing, you just, tell them what you found, what your remediations would be, blah, blah, blah. It still like gives you that piece where others lack, right? But if you was to do a CPTS, you learn a lot more than PMPT, right?
Yeah.
That's just a fact. Like it's a lot more in-depth knowledge. When you come out from the PMPT, I think you're going to be more well-rounded in different technologies and a better pen tester per se. But everyone has their cup of tea, right? So that would be my feedback. I love them both, but it all depends on what your end result is.
Mm.
To learn more or just to get that full experience of being a pen tester per se. Um, Nothing new. All right, we got a few more minutes. I want to look at a few more. All right, I understand you. Also, thank you so much. Blah, blah, blah. Are you suggesting I should pursue CPTS and CRTO certification instead of OSCP Plus? Nothing, no. Like, whatever you want to do, like if you have the budget and you want those acronyms behind your name for, like what Tib said, HR, that that filter. But if you're going to learn a lot. I can't speak on the OSCP because I don't have that, but I can speak on CRTO because I do have CRTO and I do have CPTS, and I've learned a boatload. And they're two different exams, right? CRTO is more red team driven. You're going to use Cobalt Strike. You're going to do invasion techniques and blah blah blah. Whereas CPTS is your traditional pen test, and you go through your, through your stuff. I don't want to get banned from either one, so I'm going to shut up. So I don't want to give too much info, but yeah. So that's that. Hopefully, just whatever floats your boat, dude. Like, do your own research and see what lines up with you. What amount of code knowledge is required for web pen testing? What would be a good language to learn? FYI, I hate Java.
So okay, here's the thing with web pen testing. I would recommend at least being familiar with JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because obviously, I'm gonna get hate for this. HTML is technically a programming language, but if there's one programming language that's mostly associated with the web, it's JavaScript, right? Because that is realistically the programming language that is going to be executing in users' browsers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably one you should be more familiar with, just because it's core to how web applications work, especially modern web applications. Like, there are no modern web applications that don't use JavaScript. They just aren't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's gone. Like, that era, nope, doesn't exist. And so you have basically a bunch of client-side JavaScript that you probably want to take advantage of. So JavaScript is definitely one you want to know. And in terms of writing like little scripts, honestly, a lot of the stuff you can just automate in Burp. Like, Burp replaces a lot of what previously people would like write little Python scripts for. Having said that, Python is a pretty simple language to pick up, and it's super useful. So Python is just good for quick scripting languages. Now, Java is what Burp is coded in. And I like Java. I think Java gets a bad rap. I think it's a pretty decent language for what it does. And here's the thing about Burp and Java. If you want to write any kind of extensions, these days they're going to be in Java. And the reason for that is the Montoya API, which is the latest extension API, right? There's two APIs in Java in Burp. There's the legacy API and there's the Montoya API. The legacy API you could technically write Python scripts for, but you can't for the Montoya API. They got rid of it for good reason, I think. It was relying on a horribly outdated Jython implementation. It's just bad. So if you want to use any of the sweet new functionality in Burp in an extension, you have to use Montoya, which means you have to use Java. If you want to use Bambdas, which we haven't even talked about, but I have several videos on my channel about Bambdas. Bambdas are short little ways to extend features in Burp without having to write an entire extension. They are amazing. They have I use them literally daily in my job when pen testing. They're so useful. They also use Java. Sorry. So, like, if you're going to use Burp, I would learn Java, honestly, at this point. They are, and I know a lot of people have been like, they should rewrite Burp. Like, Burp isn't going to be rewritten. Java is still being developed. That's the dumbest thing. Like, Java is still being developed by Oracle and several other groups. So it's not going to go away anytime soon. There's no point in rewriting a huge project like Burp in Java while the language that's written in is still being developed, at least. If you're going to use Kaido, I believe they also use JavaScript for their extensions, right? So I think that's the way it works. So that would be useful as well. But like I said before, Burp is the best for this. Bambdas are, amazing. Kaido for some reason hates Bambdas. I know I've noticed on their website when they have they compare Kaido to Burp, they have Bambdas as a negative thing, and that just astounds me. I can't. I honestly, I know it's cliche to say, but remembering how I used to test without Bambdas, it's why did we ever do it this way before?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents.
2 cents is you're not getting away from Java. Sorry.
I just don't think so. I don't think you can escape it. But honestly, learn to love Java. I've vibe coded extensions in Java, and honestly, it works out pretty well. At least for Claude. Claude Code understands Java pretty well. But yeah, Java isn't that bad. Trust me, it really isn't.
Yeah,
I think people are just scared of it.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so we'll take one more question, and from Nothing No, let me see if there's anything else down here. No. So I have one more question. I'd like to confirm if red team is considered a good career role. I want to make sure I'm not choosing the wrong path. So I don't know if you put this in the chat. If you did, where are you located in the world? Red teaming, I think, is a really good path if you're into that kind of operation. And I don't think any career path is the wrong path. It's whatever your path is, right? It's like me saying, "Oh, web app is the wrong path because I don't do it," or him saying it's network pen testing is not the right path because he's a web app. Whatever floats your boat is floating your boat. So I don't think there's any wrong or right path in life. It's whatever you create your own yellow brick road, man. So just obviously real red teaming, not pen testing, or vulnerability assessments, and they just name it red teaming, like real red team ops. It definitely pays more than pen testers. So that's the truth. And a lot of companies that I've seen, if you're a red team person that you're doing true red team, they get a few more dollars than pen testers. Do you find that as well, Tibbs? Do you think red teamers make more than pen testers?
I honestly don't know. I think the problem is the industry pay varies so wildly.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't surprise me. I will say that, just because I feel like red teaming requires a more of a breadth of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Whereas in pen testing, you can literally just focus on a specific area.
Yes, sir.
Red teaming is more of that, where you do need and honestly, on a red team, hopefully you'll have the specialists as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel red teamers generally will require they'll need the physical pen testing aspect as well as the network pen testing aspect. Web app, honestly, on a red team engagement is probably super limited, because ultimately what you're trying to do is get into a client's environment. You're usually doing that via social engineering, physical pen testing, and then just plugging a device in.
Exactly.
Physically. So web apps don't tend to come up that much.
Exactly. So if you don't want to, I don't know if you were the one that said I hate Java or whatever. So then get to red teaming, because red teaming you're not going to really do. You're going to be doing Ruby and other stuff, because you're going to be writing exploits and invasions and coding in C and stuff like that. But awesome. It's always Web App Wednesdays. That's good. Thank you. True. Learning the fundamentals can be transferred to certain. Yeah, exactly. Learning that. You're right, Jose. And good seeing you, dude. So that's pretty much it. So last thing, obviously, please go, subscribe to Tibbs' channel if you want to learn more about web app and just support him. And where else can they find you? You're all over, but maybe my crowd doesn't know you, so you never know. So tell them where they can
Yeah.
find you, follow you, and all that fun jazz.
I can put my link tree.
Yeah, put your
in
link
the,
tree, and I'll just throw it in the chat. So just in case this is
Yeah.
after the fact, you can go follow my boy Tibs.
Let me send it in the. Hang on. Where's the private chats? Here we go. Right, there's my link tree.
Sweet. Let me copy this for you folks. I'm gonna throw this in the chat. Oh man, my nose is tickly. No, I don't do cocaine. So
yeah, so like I'm on all the social media networks, you know, because I feel like you have to now. I also have a couple of podcasts, so I just noticed I listed my podcast there. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And I thank you. You know, obviously, I want to be respectful of your time. We're a little over the hour. Hopefully, you have a beautiful Saturday and beautiful weekend. Hope everyone has a beautiful weekend. And if there's any questions after this, you know, if you have any questions for myself or Tibbs, you know where to find him.